All right, these are the notes for multiplying and dividing fractions and mixed numbers. We're going to combine them together this time. So in our notes, it says, reminder how to multiply fractions and mixed numbers, because you've learned this before. Again, I'm not teaching you anything new. I'm combining stuff from 5th and 6th grade with the integer rules from 7th grade, and we're mushing them together. So if a problem has a mixed number, just like adding and subtracting, we want to turn that mixed number into an improper fraction. Then you do not need a common denominator. That's why I love multiplying and dividing fractions, because I hate finding a common denominator, but I don't have to worry about that piece here. Then I'm going to highly encourage you to simplify before you multiply, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then remember, the integer rules apply. So a positive times a positive, the signs are the same, so my answer will be positive. A negative times a positive, so my signs are different, and different means a negative. A positive times a negative, again, my signs are different, so that's a negative. And a negative times a negative, that will actually result in a positive answer. So here's a very simple one. This is from like 5th and 6th grade. So 1/2 times 3/5. Okay. No common denominator needed, no mixed numbers in this one. So I'm going to simplify before you multiply. So that's when you check any numerator with any denominator. It does not have to be diagonal. It can be top and bottom. It just has to be a numerator with a denominator. In this case, I don't see anything I can simplify, so I'm just going to say 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 5 is 10. So my answer here is 3/10. That one wasn't hard because it had two positive numbers. So here I have negative 5/6 times 2/3. Whenever I multiply or divide fractions, I always decide on my sign first, write it down, and then solve. So I see a negative times a positive. My signs are different, which means my answer is going to be negative. Now I'm going to go check and see if anything can be simplified. So I see 2 and 6, and they share a common factor of 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And now I'm just going to multiply across. So I have 5 times 1 is 5, and 3 times 3 is 9. So my answer is negative 5/9. Right, so negative 2/9 times 3/7. Okay, negative times a positive is going to give me a negative answer. Check for anything I can simplify. Remember, numerator with denominator. So I see a 3 and a 9. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So then we just multiply going across. So 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 7 is 21. My answer is negative 2/21. Try it again. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm not going to write anything. Now I'm just going to check and see if there's anything I can simplify. So I see a 6 and a 9, and they share the common factor of 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And now I just multiply across. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 7 times 3 is 21. So my answer is 8/21. Now, let's say I didn't simplify first, and I would get 24/63. Then I would just have to go back and say, oh, that's not in its simplest form. I can divide both of those by 3 to get my answer. So if you don't simplify right away, you can still get the right answer. Just makes it a little bit more difficult to do the simplification at the end. All right, so now we're going to start doing some mixed numbers too. So I have 1/8 times negative 4. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1/8 times negative. Now, when I have a whole number, remember we can write that as a fraction by placing it over the number 1. So I'm going to say negative 4/1. So I have a positive times a negative, which gives me a negative. I can simplify here the 8 and the 4. 4 is a factor of both of them. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So then when I multiply across, 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. My answer is negative 1/2. All right. Negative 2.5 times 1 1/4. A negative times a positive will give me a negative answer. Now I got to make these into improper fractions, just like addition and subtraction yesterday. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2, times 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 4. I'm going to check and see if there's anything I can simplify. Remember, it has to be a numerator with a denominator, a top with a bottom. Okay, I can't do 2 and 4 because they're both denominators. I can't do 5 and 5 because they're both numerators. And there's nothing here I can simplify, so I'm just going to multiply across. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 4 is 8. And just like yesterday, we're going to leave our answers as an improper fraction, so negative 25/8. All right, next one. Negative 3 3/8 times positive 2 1/3. A negative times a positive is a negative. Okay, make them improper. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 3 is 27 over 8, times 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so 7 over 3. Check and see if there's anything you can simplify. Well, be careful. I see a 3 and a 27 here. 3 goes into both of them. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Now I'm going to multiply across. 9 times 7 is 63, and 8 times 1 is 8. So my final answer is negative 63 over 8. Last one for multiplication. I have a negative times a negative, which will give me a positive answer. So I'm not going to write anything but the fraction bar. 8 times 1 plus 7 is 15 over 8, times 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12, so 12 over 5. And notice I didn't even write the negative signs because there's no need to. We already decided our answer was going to be positive. Okay, check for simplification. I actually see a couple things here. So I could do 5 and 15. They're both divisible by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then the 8 and 4 have a common factor also. I actually said it. The 8 and the 12 have a common factor, and that's 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now I just multiply across. So on the top I have 3 times 3, which is 9, and 2 times 1, which is 2. So 9/2 is my final answer. Okay, rock stars, let's turn it over to the back. So multiplication was on the front, division's on the back. So reminder how to divide fractions and mixed numbers. Again, nothing new. You know this. So if it is a mixed number, just like on the front, turn it into an improper fraction. Okay. You do not need common denominators. Man, this is starting to sound an awful lot like multiplication. Now with division, remember you need to blank, blank, blank. So last year you learned a 3-word phrase, which is similar to leave, change, opposite, but it's not exactly. We called it keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. So remember, division is actually a multiplication problem. Just like what we were doing last time with addition or subtraction problems are really addition problems, rewritten. Same thing here. So I got to keep, change, flip. And then once I make it into multiplication, try to simplify first, and then do not forget to use your integer rules. So let's try some of these. Negative 1/3 divided by negative 5. So I'm going to start with my sign. They're both negatives, which means my answer is going to be positive. So I'm just going to make a fraction bar here. Okay, I need 2. I do not need common denominators, and now I need to rewrite it using keep, change, flip. So keep the 1/3, change to multiplication. Okay, this is 5. So that's really 5 over 1. I might write that next to it, and then when I flip it, it becomes 1 over 5. Nothing I can simplify, so 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 5 is 15. My answer is that's a 1/15. Okay, let's try it again. Negative 3/4 divided by 1/4. My signs are different, which means it's going to be a negative answer. Okay, then I'm going to keep, change, and flip. I check to see if there's anything I can simplify. I see these 4s. When they're exactly the same and there's a numerator and a denominator, you can just cross them out and make them 1s. They're both divisible by the same number, 4. So across the top, I have 3 times 1, which is 3. And on the bottom, I have 1 times 1, which is 1. Now, I can simplify here. This is the same thing as negative 3, so that's going to be my final answer. Negative 3 over 1 simplifies to negative 3. All right, let's try it again. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. I'm going to keep, change, and flip. So not 8/9 becomes 9/8, 9 over 8. Okay, I'm going to show you what happens if you don't simplify here. So if I don't simplify, I would have 4 times 9, which is 36, and 5 times 8, which is 40. And that should be a red flag to me because I see they're both even. So I know 2 cannot go into them, but also 4 can go into them. So if you don't simplify, it's okay. You can still get the right answer. You're just going to end up simplifying at the end. So I would end up with a negative 9/10 as my answer. All right, let's look at the next one. I have negative 5/6 divided by negative 2/3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I'm just going to make my fraction bar. I know I need to keep, change, and flip. 3 and 6 share a common factor of 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Across the top, 5 times 1 is 5, and 2 times 2 is 4. And remember, I can leave them improper, so my answer is 5/4. All right, now we're going to get some mixed numbers in here too. So first thing we want to do, and I don't want you to do 2 things at once. That never works out well for 7th graders. We really need to do 2 different steps here. So the first thing I would do is make these both into improper fractions. So 5 would be 5 over 1 divided by 1 and 1/3. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4, so 4/3. Actually, the first thing I should have done here was check my sign. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So let's put that in. Okay, now that I've wrote them both as improper fractions, now I can do the keep, change, flip. Again, I would not suggest doing both in one step. Almost every time I see people do that, somebody gets something wrong. And I want to prevent you from that happening. So now we can keep, change, and flip. And in this problem, I don't see anything you can simplify before you multiply. So I'm going to say 5 times 3 is 15, and 1 times 4 is 4. So my answer is negative 15/4. All right, here, I need to change this one. So 2 and 3/8 would become 19/8. I'm going to keep, change, and flip. Oh man, I forgot my sign again. Okay, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Now let's do our keep, change, flip. So 3/4 times 8 over 19. See, the 4 and the 8 share a common factor. Let's say I didn't realize 4 worked. Let's say I got 2. So I said 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4, and I multiplied that way. I would get 12 on the top and 38 at the bottom, and hopefully a red flag would go off that would say, wait, those are both even. I need to keep simplifying. So I would have to divide these by 2. So always check to make sure your answers truly are in simplest form. So I would have 6 on the top, and I would have 19 on the bottom. My answer is -6/19. All right, positive divided by negative gives me a negative answer. 2 1/3 becomes 7/3. And -6, that would be a 6/1. So now I'm going to keep, change, flip. Check and see if there's anything I can simplify. I don't see anything, so 7 times 1 is 7, and 3 times 6 is 18. My answer is -7/18. Okay, let's try this again. Negative divided by negative is a positive, so I'm just going to make my fraction bar. Make it improper. 8 times 7, or 8 times 1 is 8, plus 7 is 15/8. Here, I would have 12/5. And then I know I need to do keep, change, flip. Man, let's see. Oh, I see a 3. Okay, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now on the top, I have 5 times 5, which is 25. And on the bottom, I have 8 times 4, which is 32. My answer is 25/32. If I didn't see that, though, I would have got 75/96. And then hopefully you would have seen that you could divide that by 3. Remember, your rule for 3 is you add the digits together and ask yourself if it's divisible by 3. That'll help you when it comes to simplification. All right, 2 more, and you guys are being rock stars. So negative divided by negative is a positive, so I'm just going to make my fraction bar. Make improper. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20/3. Do it here. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 3 is 24. Keep your denominator. Then I need to keep, change, and flip. And I've made them harder, so they're harder to find common factors. So look carefully. Okay, 20 and 24 share a common factor. Let's say I don't see the largest one right away, and I say, oh, they're both even, so I know 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. I can still do it again. I say, oh, I see I could do 2 again. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. You can do it as many times as you need to. So on the top, I have 5 times 7, which is 35. And on the bottom, I have 3 times 6, which is 18. So my answer is 35/18. All right, last one. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. 8 is written as 8/1 as an improper fraction. And 3 1/5, that would be 16/5. So I'm going to leave, change, and opposite. I see 8 can go into both 8 and 16. So 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. And across the top, 1 times 5 is 5, and on the bottom, 1 times 2 is 2. So -5/2 is my answer to the last one. So now your job that we've completed these notes together is to go back in the file folder, and there is a practice for you to complete. It's got 6 problems on it. Take out an extra sheet of notebook paper, use your rules for multiplying and dividing positive and negative fractions and mixed numbers, and see if you can do them all on your own.